Hey everybody, Shawn Tubbs here. I thought I would show you guys my C.A.B presets that I chose for the D20. Now the D20 has the Torpedo 2-note software and reactive load embedded in it, and you can put up to 6 presets internally in the D20. What I want to do is just explain briefly how I arrived at the C.A.Bs I chose and also the mics, and then we'll go into maybe just a little bit of the effects. Now you can put 6 C.A.Bs in here. What I did was I chose 3, and the reason I did that is I really wanted to go with a 4x12 for my biggest tones, and then I also chose a 2x12 close back for my more focused tones with maybe a little more mid punch, and then I chose a open back 1x12 for my clean and kind of bluesy tones. Now in the 4x12 and the 2x12, those are both Revv C.A.Bs, and they have, I believe, WGS VET 30 and a ET90 combination in both of those cabinets. And then of course in the open back 1x12, that's just an ET90. So let's just start on the 4x12 C.A.B. That's my biggest tone, and I chose that mainly for my bigger kind of crunch tones, or maybe even higher gain tones. So I'll go ahead and turn on a G3 for my gain tone and just let you hear the 4x12 really quick. This is the Revv. So this is my biggest sounding cabinet. Now the mic combination that I chose is a Shure 57, which is basically the DIN 57 in the software, and then the Ribbon 121, which is modeled after a Royer 121 Ribbon mic. So I'm getting all my kind of high mid punch off of the 57, and I'm getting all my warmth and low mids off of the Ribbon mic. And just really quick, let me turn on, I'm going to mute the 57. Now I'm doing this all via the Torpedo remote software on my MacBook, and it's really easy to set up, super easy to use. So let me shut off, let's shut off the 57 first. So what you're hearing right now is just the Ribbon mic. Now let me turn on just the 57. I'll mute the 121. So you can hear the 57's got all that upper mid punch. The Royer sounds a little fatter, maybe a little softer or milkier in the top end. But when you combine the two, and levels wise, you can see that I've got them almost matched. I think the Royer is maybe a dB hotter, but together they sound great. So that's my very first preset. What I did for the second preset is keep the same exact cab and mic configuration, but I just added a little bit of what's called the crypt reverb, and you can see how the room has changed. And I'll just hit the guitar real quick so you can hear what's going on. Hear that, just a little bit of room in there? That's what I wanted. It works great for kind of bluesy stuff. But if you do more of the rhythm kind of thing like I was doing before, just sounds a little bigger, a little more spread out. One thing I didn't mention is I do have the 57 just slightly off axis, so it's just a little bit darker, not quite as much bite, and I did that for both cabinets. You can see that I've kept the EQ completely flat. I try to get as close as I can to the source of the tone, and then if I feel like I need to manipulate it via EQ, I will. But as a standard, I always try to get my source tone as naturally as possible, because if you start moving mics like crazy and then all of a sudden you feel like, oh, I want to add some low end, what can happen is it actually adds more worry and problems than it actually helps, because it might argue with the low end that's already there because of a room reflection or whatever's in the software. Now, that's not a set in stone way to do it. That's just how I do it, because it's just an easier way to go about tweaking sound. So if I want a little less low end off of this, then I can go ahead and turn on the EQ and maybe bump that 120 back. But to me right now, this sounds fine. Okay, let's go to the next cabinet. The next cabinet is a closed back 2x12, same exact speakers, but I did choose a different mic combination. This cabinet overall sounds a little tighter. It's a little more mid-focused. So instead of using a 57, I actually switched to a 421, which is a little bit smoother in the top end. It's not quite as mid-focused, and I thought it paired really well with the ribbon mic. Now you can see my levels on this are different. I've got the 421, I've got that cut about 6 dB. The Royer is actually bumped. The 121 is bumped 1 dB. And then you can see I've got the 421 off axis by about 20%. So if I move that all the way in, you can see, if you look at the software, you can see it move out. So at about 20%, it's not a huge difference, but it did help just kind of soften that top end. So I like the way this cabinet sounds. This would be perfect in a mix. It may not sound obviously as big as a 4x12 cabinet, but in a mix, this is going to sit really nice. If you take a solo on it, it's going to cut through really nicely, but it's still not going to sound harsh, because you certainly don't want that. What I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to go ahead and move the 421 so that it's not off axis at all. So you can hear that it's very subtle, but that's what I would do. If I wanted just a little more bite in the mids up top, before I touch EQ or anything, I'll just move that mic in and get the tone that I want. So that's how that cabinet sounds. Now let me go to the next preset. Once again, I stayed on the same exact cab, but I added a long Cathedral Reverb to it. So you can hear that reverb. I've only got, what is it? Yeah, 5%. But it's just enough to get just the kind of spread out cathedral reverb sound. So that's really nice for a solo sound that'll cut through in a mix. I can make it more syrupy if I want to add some delay. I can turn this reverb up even more. There's all kinds of things I can do. Now really quick, let me just let you hear the ribbon. Do the same thing, I'll let you hear the 421. So that one's backed off, but once again, when I add the two together, it's a really nice combination. Okay, cool. Last but not least, let me go to the 1x12 open back cabinet. I'm going to go ahead and turn the overdrive off. This is what I want to use for my more clean type voicings. So with this one, I stuck with the same mic combination. It's a 421 and a 121, but in this case, you can see the levels are almost matched and everything is dead on the speaker. Nothing's been moved off axis because I just thought it sounded really sweet right away. Now, the only thing I did once again was just on the next preset, which is 6, I added the Cathedral back in, and it's got, yeah, about 4% reverb happening. And then if I turn on like a low gain overdrive, so it sounds really great. It's got a really sweet top end. Obviously it's an open back, so it's going to be more airy in the top end. So those are the cabinets, basically 3 cabinets. All of these ended up being Revv cabs. Mic combinations were essentially a dynamic and a ribbon. Of course, you can go in and tweak and dial to your heart's content, but this is just where I settled for my sounds and my taste, especially as a session player and playing live. I really wanted to pick cabinets and situations that I could dial quickly and also tweak quickly without a lot of trouble. So I really appreciate you guys checking this out, and I'll have another video for you soon.